Hello students, today our topic is MySQL, and in this lecture we are going to discuss some commands related to MySQL, and we already discussed all the commands related to MySQL, but in this lecture our main focus is to implement all these commands in MySQL software. So let's start and we'll see the practical implementation of all these commands from beginning. So this is the practical part 1 of your MySQL part. So let's start. We already discussed 21 commands related to MySQL in our previous classes. So in this lecture, our focus is to practically implement these commands related to MySQL. So let's start. You can easily see that is MySQL. First of all, you have to enter your password. Then you can easily see here detail of MySQL is given here on screen. After that, you can type a command. First of all, I just type a simple command, show databases. Basically this command used to show different databases present in MySQL. So let's see. Now you can easily see that, and statement is terminated by semicolon sign. Now you can easily see that different databases present in MySQL are shown on screen, in which one of the databases name is MySQL, which is by default. So if you work in a particular database, so first of all you have to create that database, then after you can use it. Otherwise, if you don't want to create any other database, you can do your work in MySQL database, which is by default. So let us see how we can create a new database. So these are the different databases available here. You can easily see on a screen, and at last there is a statement 5 rows in second 0.0 seconds. Okay. Now for to create new database, there is a command create database. So just type create database and then give the name of the database. Suppose here I want to create a database name Singh. Okay. So just after that semicolon sign, put a semicolon sign and press enter. You can easily see here answer is query okay, one no affected. Okay, so the new database is now created. Now you can use it this database by using the command use. So just type use and then name of the database. Okay, so for example I want to use a database Praveen, so I just write use Praveen, and you can easily see that answer is database changed. Praveen is already there. Now let us see the create table command. So to create table command, first of all you have to write create table, and always remember that it is case insensitive. It means if you write in capital letter or if you write in small letter, it doesn't affect the execution of the query. So just write create table customers. Okay, create table customers. Customer is the name of the table. And second important thing is that we discuss all types of error which basically raise when we try to execute a command. So intentionally I made some make some errors in this commands. So let us see what happens. First of all, create table customers. Okay, you can change a line, or it is depend on you. If you write the statement complete statement in a single line, then it is also acceptable. But change a line is a good option, because when you change a line, it provides you basically more visibility about the code. So let us see. id is the name of the column, int is the data type of that column, and all the columns are mentioned within the sign of parenthesis. Second column name is name, and data type, let us take its data type care. Okay, and we take the size it as 50. So 50 characters can be inserted in the name data type. Then after address, let us take varchar 2. Now varchar is acceptable, varchar 2 is not acceptable in this version of MySQL. So varchar 2 100, after that a sign of comma, and if you want to take another column name salary, okay, you can take it, and let us take its data type as a float. Okay, so when we try to execute this command, it will give you an error because varchar 2 is not acceptable at all. And finally close the sign of parenthesis and semicolon, and then after just press enter, and you can see the output. If error will be there, then there is a message for that. Now you can easily say that varchar 2 is not acceptable at all for this. And also line number is also shown, that line number 5 there is an error in varchar. You can read the statement, you can which describe what type of error is there. Now second important thing is second important thing, uh, if you want to type the previous command that is already given, then don't try to type it, just press arrow key, all the commands are available just like that. Create table customers here, and then I just okay, press just arrow key up, downward arrow and upward arrow. Okay, you can easily see here. And if you want to make some changes, then you can press back button. So I just give address varchar 100, okay, and then press, and then put comma sign. After that you can easily see here, okay, salary float is taken again, and then close the sign of parenthesis, and then after semicolon sign. Now error is again, and why it is so? Because it is clearly mentioned that you have an error if you use SQL syntax, check the manual that corresponding if you are MySQL server version. For this, right syntax of the use id int, okay, salary float, okay, let us correct it. This table is already exist, okay. In previous command varchar 2 is not acceptable at all, so give a new name to it. So I just sign of parenthesis is missing in this command, so basically it will give an error. So always remember the syntax, whatever you write, the name of the columns, just give them within the sign of parenthesis, otherwise it will raise an error. Okay, now let us execute this command again. So these types of errors are basically occurs when we just try to create a command. Now this is the most common error, customers already exist, because this table is already exist, so we cannot create the same table again, so we have to give the another name for that table. Okay, so let's start again. Give the table name like create table customers, okay, customer 1, let us take the table name customer 1. Now I think it is acceptable. And if you want to check the tables defined in a particular database, you can check it by the command show table, which will be discussed later on. Now let us take the column name id int, and then after name char 50, address varchar 100, and then salary float. Okay, now you can easily see that query okay, and 0 rows affected. So these are the basically 3 or 4 types of commands, 4 types of errors generally occurs when we try to create a table. First one is you can if you select a wrong data type, then error will be there, or it may be possible that table is already exist, then also error will be there. And if you know if you can't put all columns name within the sign of the parenthesis, then it will also raise an error. But the most important thing is that, and the beauty of the MySQL is that it basically tells you where error occurs and what type of error is there in which line. Okay, so it is your first time, and I know that during the online classes it is hard to implement the code on the software, or most of the time there is an error. So I'll just try to put different errors intentionally, because these types of error are generally occurs when students try to execute these commands, especially during the create table command and insert into table command. Okay, now let us talk about another command. So now table is created. Okay, if you want to see the table using select table command, then it is not possible because only the structure is created. There is no data at all in the table customer 1. So to insert the data into table customer, there is a command named insert into. So just write insert into, after that the table name is customer 1. Okay, customer 1. After that now we have 3 options for that command. First option is mention different columns name and then put value for these different columns. Second, if you want to insert the data in all columns, then don't need to mention column names. And third option, if you want to insert more than one record at a time, then it is also possible. So now first of all we actually select the most easy method to insert data into a particular table. And here if you want to select the data into all columns, then as I told you that don't need to mention different columns here, and directly you can put data into columns just after the keyword values. Okay, and after values put the sign of parenthesis, and within the sign of parenthesis you can give different values. If the value is a string, then you can write it within a single quote sign or a double quote sign within a double quotation mark. And if it is not, so it is a number, then you can put it as it is, as is. Okay, so first data is 1 Aman, and then after okay 1 Aman, and next is address. So I put address Delhi, and after that salary. So I just give a salary here. Remember that whatever you put in the field of salary, that must not exceed the limit of the data type. Okay, so I just give 10,000 here. Now if I want to put another data, now after the execution of the count, you can easily see here query okay, one row affected. It means one record is inserted into that table. Now if I want to insert another record, so I just again use downward and upward key. Now I just change the values within it. I just keep the ID same. Now ID 1 is already exist, but because we don't apply any constraint at the time of table creation, so duplication of the ID is possible for the at the time of insertion. Now I just insert one Rohit, and change the address. Okay, I just write Chandigarh, and then 12,000. Here one thing should be noticed, that I just repeat the ID, and if I don't repeat that ID, then it is also acceptable. And if I repeat that id, it is also acceptable because no constraint is applied on the table customer. First thing. Second thing is that if I just insert that data as it is, as it was inserted earlier, then also in that case there will be no error at all. Okay, it means that if I want to insert one Aman Delhi 10,000 again in this table, then it is also acceptable. And if I want to put minor changes in that data, then it is also acceptable. And if I completely change the data, then of course it is also acceptable. It means that if we don't apply any constraint at the type of table creation, then all type of data are acceptable, whether it is repeated or not. Okay, so at second time and second record is inserted, where id is equal to 1, name is Rohit, address is Chandigarh, and salary is 12,000. Let's see. Query okay, one no affected. Using your keyboard, there are two keys basically, upward and downward arrow. So using this key, you can select the command which is already executed. Okay, now third data is to Mukesh, and I just change the name of the city here. Let us take Agra, and then salary 30,000. And after that you can easily see here, press enter, query okay, one no affected. Now again I just give another value here, 3, 3 Zubair, and then take the address as Eta. Okay, and let's take the salary. Now here I just take the name in double quotation sign, and let us see it is acceptable or not. As I told you earlier that if there is a string, then you can just write just within a double quotation marks or single quotation marks. So you have two choices two choices in that case. Now you can easily see that data is inserted into that table, so no error at all. So you can use single quotes or double quotes, it is totally depend on you. Now it's time to check the data. So you can use select command. Select star means for all columns, and then from, and the table name is customer 1, and after that put a semicolon sign. You can easily see that that is the data that is inserted into that table. After the insertion you can easily see the data. Okay, so complete data is available here. Now these are the commands which I already implement in MySQL. You can easily see here, first of all use database command, then create table command. Here I just create a table without any constraint, without a declaration of a primary key, or without using constraint not null or unique. Okay, we will do this in our next video. So that is the syntax of create table command. Okay, that is an example related to create table command, and this slide is already, this PowerPoint presentation is already discussed in our last video. So I just want to show you which command I use here. Now you can easily see that we have three options. when we want to when we try to insert the data into a particular table, first of all I use a second option which is very easy to implement, that says that if you want to insert the data in all columns, then don't need to mention all columns names. Okay, first thing. Second thing, insert data into that order in which the columns names are there in a particular table. For example, first column is id, so just write the data related to id. Second column is name, so just insert the data for name just after that. And then in this case last name is there, so data regarding to last name Sharma you can easily see here. After that, address. So in this table basically 4 columns names are used. These are id, first name, last name and address. But the table which we already created already in this video contain 4 columns which are id, name, address and salary. So the basic and the most important thing about this insertion into command is that we insert the data as per the order of the columns at the time of table creation. First thing. Second thing is that if you want to insert the data in all columns, then don't need to mention all columns. Okay, just write insert into after that table name, after that values, and then within the sign of parenthesis you can give the values. And when you mention the value, if a value is a basically a number, whether it is an int or it is a float, then write it as it is as it, and if it is a string, then write in the sign of single quotes or in double quotes. So that is the most important thing. So that is our option number 2. Now generally we use option number 1, in which if we want to insert the data into particular columns, so we mention only those columns names, and after that uh, values, and then values of that columns which we already mentioned before the keyword values. So you can easily see that the first command, insert into table name, and then after name of the columns, and then after values. Always mention the name of the columns within the sign of parenthesis because there are more than one columns. Okay, and then values, and then after values of that columns that are mentioned in this command. Here if you want to insert the data into particular columns or a group of columns, then this command is very useful for that purpose. Because if there are 4 columns, suppose we have 4 columns, id, name, address and salary, and if you want to insert the data regarding to id, name and salary, and if I don't want to put address for a particular record, then this type of command is useful for that purpose. Okay, so just mention the name of the columns, and according to that name of the columns you can insert the data into that columns, first thing. And second thing is that whatever be the order or order of that column we mention in this command, according to that order we have to insert the data into a particular table. So at the time of table creation, whatever be the order of that column, it doesn't matter. Whatever we mention the order of that column into a particular at into insert into table command, that is basically important at the time of insertion of the data into that table. For example, if I just write roll number first, then the value of the roll number will be inserted first after the keyword values. And at second place, if first name is there, then second value which will be inserted into that table will be the first name. Now if I want to insert the uh, first name and then after that last name and then roll number, then in that order we have to insert the data. So that is the most important thing regarding to that insert into table command. Now third important thing, if I want to insert the more than one record at the same time, then it is also possible. But it is also possible, so just write insert into table name, and after that if you want to mention the column, then you can do it. And if you want to insert the data into all columns, then don't need to write that column's name and after that just write keyword values, and then within the sign of parenthesis you can write different records and separate all the record by a comma sign. So let us do it practically. It will give you a clear idea how we can insert data into a table. Okay. Now you can easily see here that is a different ways in which we can we can insert data into a particular table using column name, without using column name. If you want to insert data more than one record at the same time, it is also possible. Okay. So wait a second. Now you can easily see that in this table basically 4 columns are there: roll number, first name, last name, and address. And according to that column, we insert that data into that table. I think it is clear to all of you. Okay, and now let us insert the data again in this table. 4 Pawan Eta. Okay, Noida. Let us take the city name Noida. And salary 14,000. Here I just try to insert the more than one record at the same time. So I just put a sign of comma just after that to separate different record. Now second record is there. Roll number ID is I just take ID 5, and then I just give the name. Okay, Manisha is there, and then after address is let us take Meerut, and then give the value 15,000. Now let us see what happens when we try to insert more than one record at the same time. Just press enter key. Now you can easily see here query OK, 2 rows inserted or affected. Message is clearly there. Okay, so that is a second way in which we insert the data into a particular table. Now let us check the third way by using different columns name, which is the basically first method in which we just mention the different columns name. So I just give the column name ID and then name, and then let us take another column name. Okay, salary. And remember that I don't mention column address here. and here just want to insert four values for three different columns. Okay, then it will raise an error, and the record is 4, um, ID is 4, name is Sapna, address is Varanasi, value is let us take value 14,000. You can easily see that error is there. And why error is there? Because we want to insert four values for three different columns. Okay, if I just insert three different values for three different columns, then it is acceptable. You can easily see here, query okay, one no affected. Now you can check the data by using select command. So just write select star from, and then after table name, that is customer 1. Now this is our output. So in this command we just create a table, create a database, use a particular database, show database. We use a show database command and insert into command, and insert data using insert into command. So that is all about this lecture. In our next lecture we will discuss select, and select with like, select with where. So thanks for watching this video.